Not, but wouldn't do any good now, would it? Hey, everyone.
Oh, hi. Hey, I'm Gina B, and a place to be is here with me. And
Mama D.
every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here in the Fox Den. And tonight we have a very packed show. So I want to really get right into it. I'm going to play the video that will tell you all about David. You can almost see his book in the corner of the screen right now. David's book, we're talking about his book, The Focus. Okay, so I'm going to play the video. He'll be with us as soon as it's over. Good evening, everybody. I am Gina B, and the place to be is here with me and Mama D every Thursday evening, right here in the Fox Den from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight we have David Essel. His work is highly endorsed by individuals such as the late Wayne Dyer. Celebrity Jenny McCarthy says David Essel is the new leader of the positive thinking movement. His 10th book, another #1 bestseller, is called Focus, Slay Your Goals. This is a proven guide to huge success, a powerful attitude, and profound love. His work as a counselor and a life coach has been verified by Psychology Today, and Marriage.com has verified David as the #1 top relationship counselors and experts in the world. We will also ask David about his other books and CDs available. We welcome you to the Fox Den. And here he is. Hi, David. Welcome to the Fox Den.
Gina, Mama D, great to be with you guys.
Oh, this is
And
awesome.
everybody has to know that I already warned David that we become an addiction. So if you just see him trolling our Facebook page, don't worry, it's because he's trying to go through stop withdrawal symptoms.
I love it.
So hello, everybody that's watching so far. We ask that you share our show. We ask that you go to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe and the like button, hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our upcoming shows. But this one tonight will impact a lot of lives. So, he's like an extraordinary life coach, and he has, like you saw in the video, a lot of books under his belt, a lot of knowledge that he can share with us tonight. And that book, Focus, you can see it right there in the corner. It's only 200 pages. In that 200 pages, you are going to be so motivated to actually get up and do something. So let's talk about this, David. All right. So out of all the books that you have written so far, this is your 10th. Why did you write Focus?
Focus is because it's what's missing in our world, guys. It's the thing that people forget about. With focus, you can move mountains, you can accomplish great things. But, there's something that people love to talk about when they say, I'm a great multitasker. And multitasking will definitely lead you to the opposite of success. Okay, so multitasking is not focus. Multitasking is you're trying to juggle multiple balls. You're probably not doing any of them very well. You're not accomplishing the goals that you want. So we created this book, Focus, and we teach something in there, guys, that we created in 1996 called the One Thing Theory, which we can get into later in the show. But in a nutshell, it basically says is that the human being has the capability to do amazing things if we focus on one major goal at a time. But the minute we try to divide our energy, like to quit smoking and to lose weight and to make more money all at the same time, we're screwed. New Year's Eve New Year's resolutions are great examples that rarely ever work.
Right.
And how many times have you guys ever heard someone say, well, my resolution for this year is, and they state one thing?
I go to 10.
Yeah,
Because even
exactly.
if I finish 5, because I make 5 somewhat difficult, 5 real easy. So if I finish 5, I go, I'm 50% there.
Yep.
Okay, and we can bring you up to 100% success if you follow what we talk about.
Right.
Sobriety. Sobriety escaped me for 30 years. I was an alcoholic, a cocaine addict, and we write about that. In the book about how it wasn't until I got focused that I was able to remove 2 really deadly addictions and to create the life that I've always wanted to create. So, Focus, as a matter of fact, the book It was ranked by bookauthority.org as one of the top 100 goal-setting books ever written in the history of time. We are listed right underneath Dale Carnegie. And so, you know, when people talk about, is the book viable? Is it valuable? Well, I could tell you all day it is, but Book Authority chose us as one of the top ever written. So I think that gives us enough of endorsement.
Right. No,
Very true.
I'm in the same boat as you. You know, I had my struggles with alcohol and cocaine and everything else, and you know, I mean, that was our life. It was sex and drugs and rock and roll.
Right.
That's what it was, and we all did it. You know, all our friends. But to get over it, I definitely had to go to AA. And while I was reading this, you know, obviously there's a lot of things that run kind of parallel with the 12-step program in there that you're saying, and you're taking like the best parts of them and putting it here, you know. I love that. I love that concept totally, because I've always said I think everybody needs to live by those 12 steps, but you know, but not to that extent. So this is perfect.
Yeah. And Gina, I'll mention something, you know, 12 step, the whole concept of 12 steps they're not a very effective program at all. The fact that you succeeded is awesome. It has about a 10% success rate. You know, 12 steps in general has about a 10% success rate, which means they have a 90% failure rate. So if 12 steps works for you, do not change a thing. That's focus. If it's working for you, don't change a thing. But if you've tried it and it doesn't work, there's 250,000 other ways to get sober. And one of the reasons, and Gene, I'm glad that it worked for you, but one of the reasons why 12-step is not very effective for most people is because it was written 80 years ago. It's never been updated. Now, what business in this world that was created 80 years ago that never updated is successful? And the answer is zero. So I'm thrilled that it worked for Gina. And if someone else contacted me and said it worked for me, good for you guys. But it's not overall the pathway to success. And so we have to do this because addiction is so huge. As you know, Mama D said, I'm already an addict to your show. I've got to go find some kind of program to help me get off of this. But you know, what we need to do is we need to say, hey, listen, I can try it. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, I still need to continue on the path to find what works for me. And, you know, that's the same even with books like Focus. There's 300,000 books on goal setting. Now, ours happened to be one of the top 100 ever written. But if you never heard of me and you never knew of what we did, you wouldn't understand the one thing theory that we describe in the program. But that doesn't mean you couldn't achieve a goal. It doesn't mean you couldn't get focused with someone else's book, right? So that's what we say to people. If what you're trying isn't working, don't give up on the goal, give up on the process and find a new process.
Right. And that was actually my whole point of the whole thing, because the 12 steps is like a lot, you know what I mean? And again, outdated, like you said. And what you did is you have seriously the best parts in here, you know, with you know, paying attention to gratitude and things like that, because that's a must.
Yeah.
But we will, you know, we in action and gratitude and intent, and you know, and I like the focus, you know, because I will kill myself to finish something.
She will. And the words that come flying out of her mouth are even, I'm building a castle with my swear jar. Or her swear jar.
But I will hurt myself to finish something. So I'm like actually too extreme. And when you have in your book, I have the picture here of the left brain, right brain thing. All right. This is like us. She's more of the spiritual one. I'm more of, you know, the other one. But we're both a combination of both of those.
Yeah.
Like right brain thing. So we work perfectly together, which is fantastic. There's another part of the book that I will get to. But first of all, if you look at that cover, you have X'd out of attraction. Now, why would you do that? And that was such a huge thing. And I've had plenty of people on my show, I won't name the names, but plenty of people on the show, you know, advocating the fact of the law of attraction, think it and you'll have it. You know, like, I want $1 million. I want $1 million. I still haven't had $1 million. Right? It's not happening. So explain this to me.
Oh my God. You know, it's probably one of the humblest things I had to do, guys. From 1980, I started 40 years ago. From 1980 to 1996, I was a leading teacher of the law of attraction.
Mhm.
From 1980 to 1996, it never worked. But I kept teaching it because all of my gurus taught it. So, what happens in society if someone's an A-lister in the world of personal growth and they say this is factual, a lot of us just fall over dead, accepting their truths without ever actually experimenting. Is it true? So here I am traveling the world, speaking to audiences as large as 5,000 people at a time, talking about you can achieve whatever you believe, whatever you want that's in your mind, put it out there. It's got to come back to you. It's all a bunch of bull crap. It is absolutely bull crap when it comes to accomplishing something other than, some tiny little thing, like I'm going to get up tomorrow at 8:02 and you wake up at 8:02. Well, good for you, but that's not changing the world. The problem is these teachers of the law of attraction will tell you what Gina just said. They'll say, whatever you put out into this universe must return in kind. Well, bunch of crap. So let me tell you, I'll tell you the story. So here I am teaching this crap and I'm telling people it's valid and it's not at all. I've been successful only because I work my ass off. I'm not successful because I use some kind of mind trap technique that doesn't work. So in my beach house at the time, I had all around because I was teaching this, I had all on the walls of my house. I mean, my girlfriend went nuts when she saw this stuff, that I am earning $1 million this year. And I'd put the year. I am winning this weight bodybuilding contest. And I'd put the date. I am blah, 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 using I am because that's the power of affirmations and the law of attraction. I could tear this apart, as you guys can probably guess. But here's what happened. Here I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing. I think I'm helping the world. And then I run into a guy that you guys may have heard of. His name is Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is the founder of Transcendental Meditation. I went through in 1987 the full training to be able to be a TM instructor. And then in 1996, I was hosting a nationally syndicated radio show in 275 cities across the U.S. And we get this request. And the booker at the time, Rita, who was my producer, said, David, I keep getting bugged by these nut cult people. And just tell me no, and I can tell them no. And I go, well, who are they? She goes, I can't even pronounce the name. It's a bunch of cults. I said, well, just try. And she goes, it's Maharishi Maha. I go, are you kidding me? I go, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. She goes, oh my God, don't tell me you know him. I go, book him. Like, how did we get him? So the story is that Maharishi looked all over the U.S. for one radio show to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Transcendental Meditation. And guys, he chose us.
Wow, nice.
We were blown away. He could have been on Larry King, Howard Stern, anyone, right? And here he comes on to David Essel Alive. So we're doing the interview. We go to a break and he says to me, hey, you have so much energy. You have so much positive energy. Like, you must really believe in the power of thought. And I go, oh my God, I do. And he said, do you use affirmations? I said, every day. He said, tell me your favorite one. I said, Maharishi, wait till you hear this. I am David Essel, a child of God, happy, healthy, and sober today. And he says, is that affirmation accurate? And I said, what do you mean? He said, is it the truth? Is it in your physical world? And I lied. And I said, yes. And he said, great. As long as what you're putting out there is already here, now you're full of integrity. But if you're saying that you're this and you're not, you're lying and you have no integrity. So I'm really glad that what you're saying is accurate. And of course, we got off the show and I totally forgot about the fact that I had said what I said to him. And all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, I'm speaking in Orlando, Florida. And I get off stage and I go through the line of people asking questions. At the very end, there's this tiny little lady and she's standing there very patiently. And I say, hey, I'm so sorry it's taken me so long to get here. Like, can I help you with something? And she said, well, we have 20 minutes before I catch my flight. I flew in from Iowa to interview you and I have to fly out. I've got to leave here in 20 minutes. Let's hurry up. We go and get coffee. We sit down. I go, what magazine are you with? What newspaper? Who are you with? She said, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I said, what do you mean? She goes, he sent me here. He told me to fly down. He found out you were speaking in Orlando. He said, fly down and interview David Essel. Ask him one question only. And so she did. So I said, what's the question? She goes, what do you remember from the interview? Now, guys, here's something really interesting. I had been a nationally syndicated host 6 years then. I could have told you the week before what Wayne Dyer talked about. I could have told you the month before what Deepak talked about. I could have told you 6 months before or 2 years before what Susie Orman talked about. When it came to Maharishi, I looked at her and I said, this is so weird. Like, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember a thing. And she said, well, there's got to be something. I said, I'm really struggling. She goes, just think of one thing. And I go, okay, I can tell you now what it is. He was filled with so much childlike joy. It blew my mind. And she smiled and she said, yeah, that's Maharishi. And she said, okay, now I'm going to share something with you, David, that you may not like to hear, you may not understand, and you may not believe in. But down the road, this will come to fruition. And so this is what I want to tell you. The reason that you remember his joy is because you have none. And I said, what? And she said, the only reason you remember joy is because you do not have joy in your life right now. And I said, wait a second. Now, this is where I get very human, very defensive, very insecure. And I say, I live on the beach. I've been doing this for, 16 years. I've been doing that. I've got blah, blah, blah. And she said, right, like, I go, you don't even know me. How can you say I have no joy? And she said, I'll tell you why. I have been with Maharishi for 36 of his 40 years. We will sit at his feet for 10 hours at a time when he lectures. We will get up and go out into a lobby and start talking, and everyone is talking about something totally different that they picked out. So his power is that whatever you pick up from Maharishi is what's missing. So if you enjoy his timeliness, you're probably not on time. If you enjoy whatever it is. So now we go a little deeper. 3 weeks go by, Tuesday afternoon, 1996, 2:30. I wake up from a 3-day cocaine alcohol binge. My blood is all over the pillow. If any cocaine addicts are with me, you know what that's like. It happens all the time. We overindulge, blood pours out. We wake up in the morning and there's our pillows and sheets covered with blood. Great, a great sort of like visualization. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, just imagine that, And I looked in the mirror and I said, David Essel, you have no joy. And that was the starting point of me realizing that we've been fed a bunch of bullshit about the power of affirmations, the power of the law of attraction and all this other stuff. Because let me ask you guys this, and I'm going to go through a whole lineup of questions, and then I just want your answers at the end. Okay. Do you know any athletes that have reached the level of LeBron James that did so via the law of attraction, vision boards, affirmations? Question number one. Question number two, do you happen to know of any surgeons that became medical doctors, not by going to school for 14 straight years, but through the law of attraction? So they said, I want to become a surgeon. Well, the universe must respond in kind, so they must have become a surgeon that day. Do you know of any bodybuilders that go on stage and they've never been into the gym, but they have been talking about winning the bodybuilding competition, and they go on stage and they win the competition? Do you guys know of anyone that said, I'm going to earn $1 million this year, and they sat back and they never left their house, but they got checks in the mail that equaled $1 million? And you guys want to respond to anything?
Yeah, that one there, I had someone on my show. I can't remember his name. I can picture his face. And he
The Laughing Billionaire?
No.
Okay.
It was before you. Oh my goodness.
Before Mama D. Oh my God.
Find the book. Yeah, we'll have to find the book. But he said, yep, he got $1 million. I put it out there. He was getting checks in the mail, all these things. I'm like, really?
Okay. Now, if it's a law, Gina, then that should happen for everyone.
Right?
That's why I'm saying it's a bunch of crap. Yeah. What he experienced is called a miracle. Okay. If what he's saying is true, he did nothing. He sat back. He got checks in the mail. Then he got a miracle. Good for him. But it's not the law of attraction, because if it's a law, it needs to work for everyone. In the book Focus, I have, or actually it's in the book just before that was also #1 bestseller called Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life. But I think I might have even reiterated it in Focus. Dr. Eldon Taylor, who's one of the top experts in the mind in the world, wrote my opening of the book. And this is what he said about the law of attraction. He said there could not have been a more kindergarten-like creation in the history of man than the law of attraction. And the reason why I say this is because if your thoughts are so powerful to bring everything into your life that you want, what about the thoughts that are deadly? What about the times that you wish someone would die? What about the times that, when I was a kid, I wanted my mom to die between the ages of 4 and 18 every day. Okay. So, and seriously, we go, or maybe your ex-husband you want dead, or your ex-wife, or there's someone who betrayed you. And what he says in my book is, thank God the law of attraction doesn't work. Because if it did, you would be in jail, you'd be dead, all of us would have some kind of issues. So, I attack it because, first of all, I'm an expert in the law of attraction. I taught it for 16 years all over the world. Number one. Number two, it never worked. The only success that's coming, when I got sober, and Gina, you may say this too, I worked my butt off to get sober. It was money and time and effort. The end result was phenomenal. When I look at the money I've made, it's never come from an affirmation. It's come from doing what other people won't do.
Yeah.
Going into the gym is the same thing. So like I love to talk about this because if it were to happen that someone wakes up and says, I'm going to meet my soulmate tomorrow, that's my affirmation. And they did, we call it a miracle.
Right.
Because if it's a law, it should be easily done on a daily basis. And in those 16 years, it wasn't just sobriety that I lied to myself about. I would say that I earn $1 million every freaking day, for God's sake. None of that ever happened unless it was tied into some type of external effort on my part. So, I wish, and don't we all wish that this would work? Dr. Joe Vitale. Are you guys familiar with Dr. Joe?
Oh, yeah.
All right. He's one of the stars of The Secret. So I had Dr. Joe when I was with Sirius XM. I said, I've got to get you on the show. And he's a great guy. I love him. And I got him on the show and I said, Joe, and of course I was being facetious, but I said, man, you got a secret that I want you to share with my audience. I said, according to The Secret, you were homeless and you imagined being a millionaire and checks came to you without you doing anything. Like, tell us the secret, Joe. And he started laughing. He said, well, David, they left the real secret out of the book. I go, oh, that's shocking, Joe. You mean checks didn't come in the mail? He said, no. He said, I was homeless. I've always had an attitude that I'm going to break out of this. But then I went to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day to earn my first $1 million.
Right.
There you go.
And that's I had a friend who was like so into God, which is good. But she always said, God will provide. God will provide. God will provide. I'm like, no, God is not going to provide you a roof over your head, a job, steady income, pay your bills. God is not going to provide you that. You may ask God for guidance. You may ask God for strength. You may ask God for, things to accomplish your goals, but you got to get your butt out the door, get on the horn or do something in order to make this happen. It has to manifest by who? You.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And, and the reason, so, people say to me all the time, why is the law of attraction so, popular? And why do people still talk about it, even though it doesn't work? And this is why. In 1996, when I came to this awakening, thank God to Maharishi. I wish he was still with us. He passed a couple years ago. And I'll tell you something. That interview, not only was it mind-blowing and changing because of what transpired, it changed my entire life. I mean, I ended up getting sober. I ended up changing all my teachings. I dropped all this crap that I was teaching. I've apologized to the world through my writings. I'm so sorry I led you down this road, and I was doing the best I could, but I made major errors because it never worked for me. But I was telling everyone to do it. And when you look at something like that and you look at the power that one person has to set you straight, like that's amazing. So if there are people that are watching that do not like David Essel right now, that's okay. I didn't like the little girl that Maharishi sent down, the little woman that he sent down to interview me.
But she changed your life. And she changed your life.
And that changed my life.
Yeah, usually when you don't want to hear something or something makes you uncomfortable, that is the thing you need to hear. And I just wanted to put a little quick note out there too, because we had Doug Vermeeren on the show, and talking about his books and The Secret. And Travis Fox is coming; he's going to be on the show soon. I don't know exactly. I know
Next month, I think.
Yeah, he's coming up. He's coming. But yeah, all those things, and that's all. positive thinking.
Yeah.
You gotta have positive thinking. All right, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Intention needs to be pure, going into it. However,
Well, and even though I wrote a best-selling book that's called Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but this book will. That was the first book that we wrote that went #1. And what was funny is when I wrote that book, my staff was nervous for me. My team was really nervous. They thought that I'm going to be working in a convenience store. They said, you're ripping apart The Secret. You're ripping apart the law of attraction. I said, yeah, we're ripping it apart, but we're giving you a solution. We're explaining why. It's not like that I'm jealous of them selling their books and I'm just going to tear them apart out of insecurity. We're tearing them apart because they're teaching crap. People are spending money on workshops. People are spending money, a lot of money, on this ridiculousness. The book I referred to, Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, the day it was supposed to go to the printer, to the editor, and be finalized, now this is synchronicity at its finest. Here I am finishing up the book. I'm done. I'm not going to add anything else. And I get 2 emails, guys, on the same day from law of attraction teachers that are very well known. I did not sign up for their list, which means that they illegally put me on their email list to start with. Now, this is a law of attraction teachers that are illegally putting you in their email box, right? And then what they both, I'm sure they didn't know that they were both sending it on the same day, but one of them was about join my law of attraction workshop on how to make $1 million without working.
Yeah.
Great. And then the other one was join our weight loss law of attraction program where you will lose all the weight you want without ever worrying about what you're eating or exercising. And it's just like,
I want that one.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I find something good in everything. No matter what you give me, I will find you something good in it. But that one, I need.
Okay.
Really,
All right.
seriously.
I mean, it would be a huge, but here we go. So the problem is something called human nature.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the issue. The definition that we created in 1996 for human nature is it is our desire to get the most out of life with minimal effort.
Yeah. Lazy.
And that's human nature. We want instant gratification without work. We want that $1 million without effort. We want that 300-pound weight loss without effort. We want that magical person to come into our life without us having to do anything. So what happened is that QVC, Home Shopping Network, The Secret, all they're doing is tapping into our desire to get stuff for nothing. So they'll say, well, you don't have to have a 25-carat diamond. You can have a 25-carat zirconian and make it look like you're wealthy, even though you're lying to yourself and everyone else. And it's only $19.95 a month for 27 months. So we go, oh my God, how many people? Oh, here's a great one. Susan Summers Thigh Master.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I remember reading your book. I was just like that.
Doing my best.
I laughed because
it's perfect. This is a perfect example of human nature. Here you are sitting on your couch, watching TV, eating candy, but you have the body of Suzanne Summers because there's this contraption between your knees that you're putting together, right? Like, how the hell, seriously, how the hell does anyone with a brain buy that? Well, they buy
it's like that shake weight.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
And now there's the new thing that they're driving over with the cars. So it's just this big blob that you're supposed to be doing exercises on. It's like, really?
And this is human nature. It's our desire to get the most out of life with minimal effort. So the law of attraction falls right into that perfectly. The Secret. I want everything without doing nothing. See, and so what they're doing is they're very smart marketers. I mean, QVC and Home Shopping Network aren't still around because they're dummies. They're tapping into our greatest fear. They're tapping into our greatest desire. And The Secret and the law of attraction does the same thing. When you mentioned a couple minutes ago that we do want to think positively, I believe 20% of our massive success in life will come from how we think. 20%. 80% will come from doing what we'd rather not do right now. That's where your success is. And that's why people struggle so much, because they don't want to get uncomfortable. Every day I share with all my clients, we do it on YouTube, shows like yours, you guys, as I say, every day, the first hour, in my opinion, is the most crucial. Now, I'm
Yes.
going to freak a bunch of people out. No cell phones. Cell phones stay off the first hour of the day. No television, no internet, no computers, no nothing for 1 hour. We are so dopamine addicted to cell phones. We are so
Coffee?
addicted to getting that rush of opening up the cell. Ooh, who texted me last night between midnight and 5 a.m.? Well, come on now.
Yeah.
But instead, we're addicted. When I ask people to do what I'm going to recommend right here, is to take the first hour and devote it to self-love. That means no electronics, no TV, weather, stocks, the hell with all that stuff. Devote it to your mind. Meditate, pray, journal, listen to a podcast that's uplifting, read scripture. I don't care what you do, but take that first hour and devote it to you. That's called focus.
Yep. One of these
And
places.
some people,
Go ahead.
some people, like for me, when I get up in the morning, I give myself a half an hour before I get out of bed, and I focus just on myself. And then once I'm up, then I do my cell phone is because I say good morning to my children and my sister. And other than that, the phone goes away until I'm finished making and having breakfast.
Okay.
But the complete me, first half hour.
In your book, like especially in the weight loss thing, it's like all these things that I need to lose weight, but I'm old and I gained my weight because I stopped working. I've been working my butt off my whole entire life, physical labor my whole life, so I was always in shape. And then I moved to Pennsylvania and I haven't worked, and of course the weight comes on, and it's because I haven't worked.
Yeah, not just COVID.
It's not just COVID. No.
It's past COVID. Way past COVID.
Own it. I eat horrible. I really do, and I do need to eat.
She eats his eggs.
No, I eat more than eggs. I eat candy.
Oh, excuse me, and lasagna. Her Christmas dinner was lasagna. What does she do? Friend that she loves me so much, she sends me pictures of this stuff. I can't get it because she's in Pennsylvania. I'm in Quebec. Hello. This is what you call true love.
I do. I love her. Well, she used to torture me. As soon as we get done the show, she'd be sitting there feasting on food, and I'll have nothing. I'd be like, "Go make an egg sandwich." But
don't make me start.
I know, right? But my point was, what was my point?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, get rid of coffee. I'm like, I can't. I drink a whole pot of coffee in the morning, and then you said you have that crash thing. Well, it kind of yes and no. I make very weak coffee, but I drink the whole pot, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And my cell phone and the first thing in the morning, and I really like this because this is how I used to be when I worked. I would get up really early. I was like 5:30 up every day, and then I had hired my niece, and I was waiting for her to come in to work every day. Every day got later and later and later and later, and I'd be sitting there twiddling my thumbs, like, come on, we got to get this going, It would be crazy to sit and wait because I like to go, go, go. And then I work until I'm done because I told you earlier, I focus so much, I kill myself to complete a job.
Yeah.
And I won't stop till it's done. So I had a cleaning business that went very well. I had a design business, went very well. Construction went very well. Because everything is laid out. I know exactly what step needs to be done. I can see it all done. And all my jobs went well, unless one person was like, well, I don't want to do it that way because it's your way. And, you're a girl. It's like, ooh.
Oh, baby.
Well, if you have a better way, then you can tell me all about it after you do it my way.
There you go.
Get it done. Get it done.
Perfect.
Your way will be out next week. So you tell me what's better, But it's a focus thing. And I reading your book, I'm getting motivated to actually wake up earlier.
Yeah. It's crucial, guys. Many people are time crunched, and so they say, well, I don't have time to meditate, I don't have time to pray, I don't have time to journal, I don't have time to read, and the best time to do it is first thing for a couple of reasons. Number one, it starts your day off in a positive way, which is crucially important. Number two is that the rest of the day you're free. You don't have to go, oh, I've got to figure out a way to meditate, I've got to figure out a way to walk, I got to figure out, you already got everything done.
Right.
And There's a story in the book I write about Evelyn, who lost 240 pounds. I mean, it's an amazing story. It's a really powerful story.
I sent a friend request after I read that.
Did you? Oh my God, she is such an inspiration. You can imagine 240 pounds. So the end result was she came to a decision in her 40s that, she was killing herself with food. And she was in a wheelchair most of the time because her legs couldn't support the amount of weight that she was carrying. So she made this decision, totally cleared out everything in her house that was her comfort food, decided to have someone wheel her into a gym, stand her up on a treadmill so she could walk for a few minutes. That's the beginning of her weight loss story, right? Do you know how humble you have to be wheeled into a gym, 240 pounds overweight, to be helped up on equipment? Like, everyone's looking at you. Now, when I have clients that are 100 pounds overweight or 150 pounds overweight, and they go, well, I'm not going to go in the gym because everyone's going to look at me. I'll say, listen, the odds are not that great. Trust me. But if you're 240 pounds overweight, that's a huge, especially a shorter person, that's huge. But here's the end result that is just so amazing. And not that people who have a lot of weight to lose have to go towards the where Evelyn went. But she ended up, after putting in all this time and effort, walking on stage just a couple years ago in Las Vegas, 15,000 screaming fans as she walks on stage in a bikini as a fitness competitor. And on the far side of the stage, this massive, massive photo of her in the wheelchair, 240 pounds overweight. I mean, you can imagine the dichotomy of seeing that. Like, you couldn't even imagine it's the same person. It doesn't even look like the same person. And she became an inspiration to so many people because of what she pulled off. There's an 82-year-old black woman on Facebook. I don't know her name. I wish I did. I think she's out of Maryland, who has the most incredible physique in the world, who started her exercise and nutrition program at around 65. And by 82, you cannot believe she's 82. But she was never healthy. She was always overweight. And she made a decision at 65. So for our audience, whether it's weight or alcohol or anger, if you're addicted to anger, irritability, depression, anxiety, which is really rampant with COVID, depression and anxiety is just ripping the world apart. It really is. Addictions have ramped up through the world. We have more divorce cases as clients right now that I've been doing this for 40 years. I have never had so many couples trying to divorce. Of course, I am looking at some of them and saying, yes, divorce right away. And I'm looking at a bunch of others and say, I think we can work through this, but we've got so much stress, so much craziness going on right now that this is the time to slow down. This is the time to focus on the one major thing that's interfering with your joy, your happiness, your relationship, your finances, whatever your issue is. This is the time to focus on one of those goals. Get an accountability partner. Gina, when you were talking about 12-step, one of the things I love about 12-step, there's only a few things I love, but one of the things I love is accountability partners. You can get a sponsor to help you. That's an accountability partner. Right. So as we're talking today about focus, there aren't too many people. If you struggled with weight for 10, 15, 20 years, if you struggle with money for 5, 10, 15 years, if you struggle with love for 5, 10, 15 years, do not think you know how to get yourself out of it. Like, we have proof that you don't know how to get out of it. Invest in self-love by hiring an expert to hold your feet to the floor, teaching you what you may not know, so you can achieve in 2021 what you've wanted to achieve.
Right. And to go over that a little bit more, there are people that you can hire for that. There are friends that you can bring in for the same thing. Like I read that and I said, well, that's Mama D for me, because she was.
Yeah, but she doesn't always listen to me.
No, but she's like getting me into doing all this technical stuff, and everything. I'm like, oh, kicking and screaming and swearing and everything. Like, come on, I don't want to do. But I will.
wake up to her voice messages on Messenger, like a tirade for 2 minutes of nothing but cuss words. Some I probably now I know them, but I didn't before. And I'm like, okay, there goes $20, $40. She's building me a mansion for this with the swear jar, but when she does that, well, like I said, for me, I listen to my messages and whatever after I've done breakfast, except for the good mornings to people. That's no, cell phone is not around, but she does that, and I know that she's working. So her rants, as she puts them, are sort of like motivation for me. So I'll get on there and I will do and say pretty much anything to make her come back with a giggle and a smile, because that's what I do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, you know what, Mama D, because I know you have a strong personality, you can be an accountability partner for Gina. But let me make this is important, Gina. Most people that try to use family or friends for accountability partners are going to shoot themselves in the foot, because one of two things is going to happen. Either that friend now takes this on as a massive ego, like a small ego. Oh God, I'm going to make sure that she gets up in the morning. I'm going to make, and if she doesn't do what I tell her, seriously, parents can do that. And I'm even talking about with adult children. So the problem with friends and family is that they can go in one of two directions. They either become little Hitlers and they're a pain in your butt, and because they just don't know how to inspire or motivate. Or what's even worse is you find someone who enables you. Oh, that's okay that you missed today's walk. Don't worry about that. There's 7 days in a week, blah, blah, blah. When they should be saying, what?
Right.
What do you mean you didn't go for your walk? Listen, if you want me as your accountability partner, you have to walk. If you don't walk tomorrow, I can't be your accountability partner. That would be an accountability partner. So if you have friends, for our listeners and viewers, if you have friends that'll hold your feet to the fire without being jerks, if you have friends that won't enable you, then yes, you can use a friend. But Gina, the problem is that most people don't have friends like a Mama D, like who's going to actually, hang in with you and stay in your corner and continue to bug the crap out of you until you do what she says. Right, Mama D?
And she does.
Exactly. And you know that there is somebody else who's probably going to be listening to this. And if you don't go for your walk tomorrow, I'm going to kick your ass.
she will do it. She will.
Now, I want to mention something else. Most accountability partners you have to pay.
But yeah, that was my point though. Like if you have someone, like I'm fortunate to have her, but that would work for a certain amount of time. But basically, if you want to continue this further, and this is working for you, I would suggest that you hire someone. Now go ahead and talk about it.
Now.
Yeah. Go and find them. And how do you get, how do you get them?
How do you find somebody to do that for you?
Good going rate.
Yeah. Well, okay. It's all over the board. There's millions of coaches, counselors. One of the things that I've been very fortunate with is that I'll bug the crap out of you. Someone just said that's hilarious.
That's my cousin. She would.
That's perfect. But you want to find someone with experience. You want to find someone who has a website. You want to find someone who has a website with endorsements on it. That's how you do your shopping. Is you put in counselor. I was going to say this before. Our program is a little different. I started on in 1980 in sports psychology. In 1990, we transferred into general counseling, and then we picked up the moniker coaching. Back then, we were called lifestyle coaches in 1990. There was no life coach. It was lifestyle coach. So what I did was I took the best of psychotherapy, which is asking questions. I mean, when you become a counselor, you are trained and drilled into your head that your most important role with your client is to ask the most deepest, the most essential questions that other people won't ask them. So that's psychotherapy, right? Going deep into family history. What happened with mom when you were a kid? What happened with dad when you were a kid? How did your older brother or sister treat you that may still have ramifications for today? So we go into that in psychotherapy. But then in coaching, the difference is in coaching, you're supposed to give your clients homework, assignments, deadlines. Now, and this is what happened in 1990. I said, wait a second. Here we have this world, and I didn't even know what a lifestyle coach was. How I found out about it, guys, is I had a track athlete who was divorced, and she had an excellent coach, but she couldn't get her timing to decrease. You want to decrease your time in a mile run. You don't want to increase the time in a mile run if you're a track star.
Yeah.
But she couldn't get her times to go down, no matter what training she did. So he sent her to me. And the very first session, I said to her, I'm going to give you homework. Now, I'd never given anyone homework before because we're not taught how to do that. It was just an intuitive thing that hit me. I honestly, I believe it was angelic or godlike or something. It was outside of me. right, that said, hey, ask her this question.
Yeah.
So I gave her this assignment and I said this, I said, I want you to go home and I want you to write down any unfinished business, finances, love, etc., that could be limiting your speed, but we wouldn't think it would limit your speed. So don't worry about going, well, that has nothing to do with track. Just come on in and tell
Yeah.
me what's unfinished business, what stresses you, what frustrates you. Are you angry at anyone? Are you frustrated? What's She comes in next week. She had one sentence written down on her paper. She couldn't read it. She looked at me and tears were streaming down her face. When she finally calmed down, she said, David, I hate my ex-husband who left me for an extremely young woman. I have so much revenge that I want to get back at him from. And that's what was blocking her from achieving her goals on the track. So all of a sudden I started saying, oh my God, wait a minute. I gave this woman one assignment and now we've been given the Pandora's box been open. Now we know what the issues are. Now we can heal it. So I took her through psychotherapy practices for forgiveness. It took us several months to get through it. She got through it and you know what happens next, right? But not only did her track time improve as she was going through the forgiveness with her husband, she ended up going into a totally new practice. She wanted to start helping people. And she has been a phenomenal personal trainer from 1990 to today. She has inspired so many people, but it never would have happened if she didn't get rid of her resentment.
Yeah.
So we want people to know that, this work that we're doing, it's really deep. The world of psychotherapy especially is extremely deep. And that's where you're going to find. So you can work with a life coach. You can work with a counselor. You can work with someone like me who's a combination counselor, life coach. But the thing you want to make sure is this. If you work with a counselor or a coach, demand of them homework. Demand of them to give you written assignments, reading assignments, videos to watch. You need to, as a client, you need to be walking in knowing what you need. And I can tell you this because I go through it every day. I'll get a brand new client today. And she goes, David, I've got a lot of anxiety. And so I gave her all these exercises. I gave her a book to read, a meditation audio to listen to, and everything else. And we're about 10 minutes away from the end of the session. She goes, this session has made me feel so much better. I don't think I need to do the meditation and the exercise and the writing and everything else. And I said, you know what, baby, this is our last session.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. If people aren't 100% into it, like example, I like to do a little bit of here and there. I'm one of those jack of all trades, multitasking I suck at. And you said that, Jack. To me, it pops the thing into my head: jack of all trades, master of none. And I agree, and that's what I am, and it's just what I do. But somebody gives me something and says, "Okay, do this," but I'm not. Shut up, woman. I'm not 100. Like I know. Like you said, the right brain kind of says, "Okay, you're going to do this," and the left brain goes, "I don't think so." So if somebody wants to start something, you got to be 100% into it. Because if you were my life coach or whatever you want to call it, and I'd be like, I would be the one out the door because I need that focus, but I know where I want to focus. So I think I think this show is an exact timing for what everybody who has plans needs to hear. And get the book because I'm gonna read that book. I do try and read most books, but I'm gonna read in that book and I'm gonna be messaging back going, forget the addiction.
But seriously, the exact reason to get focus is if you did want to do all the things he was just saying, talk to a life coach, talk to a counselor, talk to whatever. The book explains, get your mind wrapped around what's going to happen, it's an interactive book.
Yeah.
You do the work at the end of each chapter. You review, there's a place to write. So you're writing, you're doing, and that's what he's preaching is doing. You know what I mean? It's not, preaching isn't the right word. You're not preaching. You are helping. Okay.
Yeah.
By giving the information, but you're doing, and it's in that book. And then if you want to, and like after just reading it, because I have to read, I didn't actually do all the things which I wanted to do, and I will do. And you did a challenge to read this book every week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gina, let me mention that. That's huge. Okay. So what a lot of people do is we'll give them a book, or we'll tell them, okay, I'm going to be working with you. I want you to go on Amazon and buy this book of mine. Right. And so, and then I'll say, and bring it in. And every week you're going to do 2 chapters, and you're going to answer the questions that Gina just talked about at the end of each chapter. So last week, a woman comes in, she's all excited. She's actually, Mama D said that I'll do whatever it takes. I swear to God. So she comes, I said, did you read the chapters? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, let's go over the answers at the end of each chapter. And she goes, oh, wait. I go, what? She goes, I like to read a book all the way through and then go back and answer it again. And I said, I'll tell you what, 99% of people that do that never go back and answer the questions.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. We say we're going to read it, and then we're going to come back and read. Are you kidding me? You're not going to do it. So in the book, we say at the end, read it every week. Because every week when you read it, you're going to read something that you passed over the week before. You're going to go, oh, damn, I didn't even remember this. Where did this come from? You know? And,
okay, so it means I'm going to have to get this book in print.
Yeah. Well, and Mama D, you can actually do this on Audible.
Yes.
So if you don't like reading, you can do it on Audible.
Yes. I was trying to do that a little bit because I read it actually in four parts. I sat down and I read like 50 pages, 50 pages, 50 pages, 50 pages. And usually I just read through the whole thing, but I really wanted it to sink in. So if I split it up like that, it sinks in more. But, you know, I tried doing the audio thing, but she does the audio thing. I hate it. I can't. I need to read.
Yeah, but for something that I want to stick in my brain, I have to do the audio and the book, the hardcover, the hard book. So now I'm going to have to go and buy the hard book.
Yeah, yeah. And Mama D, you know, a lot of people have told me that over the years, you know, that they were listening. Like there's a guy I worked with a couple years ago, and he would listen to 2 to 3 books a week. So he was coming to me saying, you know, I'm way ahead of you. I need a little help in this area, but I'm way ahead in general because I read 3 books a week. And I said, wow, that's impressive. You know, then of course I didn't say this. I wanted to say, well, if you're so far ahead, what the hell are you doing in my office? But I didn't say that, right? Yeah. But what I found was this. He was listening to 3 books a week. He was retaining about 10% of what he listened to because he never wrote anything down, just like what Mama D just said. He never wrote, he didn't answer questions at the end of any of the other books. So when we started working together, he had a really hard time because he had to read it, he had to write, he had to slow down. And he's used to bragging. Well, there's another 12 books I went through this month. There's another 12 books. You know, he loves to tell everyone that he goes through 12 books a month. Yeah. But he doesn't retain it because he never writes a thing down. Now, once we got him changed, there you go.
This is just one thing that's in the book of something for you to do, like your daily morning journaling. I think writing is a necessity for everybody. You know, 1, it calms you down. 2, it helps you focus. Yeah. Because people say, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't go here, I can't do, oh my God, I have to be so many places. Well, you know what? Slow down. Write these things down. When you look at them on paper, it's like, oh, well, that's really not that much. But when they're floating around your mind, it's a cluster.
They take up a chunk.
Yeah, you know, those are the gremlins, right? Those are the monkeys. Those are the things that are chattering and let's go this way, let's go this way, let's go this way. So here's something else that writing does that a lot of people may not be familiar with. And Gina, remind me that I'm talking about writing because I'm going to tell a story and I don't want to lose my train of thought. So there's 2 parts of the mind, and we go into extreme definition and explanation of this in the book Focus. There's the conscious mind, and then there's the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind, if you're watching the show, listening to the show right now, you're tuned in, you said, I can't wait to check out what Gina and Mama D are doing tonight. I'm going to be there with them. I'm going to listen to it, blah, 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 right? That's the conscious mind. And let's say you actually do it. You actually tune into the show. Okay, your conscious mind is in control. But let's say that you go, all right, start first of the year. Here we go. Brand new. No sugar at all. I'm not going to have any sugar at all. But you don't go through the house and throw out the sugar that's there. And you don't tell your friends or your family that you've X'd out sugar. So all of a sudden, and I just got off the phone with a client in Thailand. Right before this session, I have a session with a woman in Thailand, and this just happened to her. January 1st is her start date to lose the weight. So today is January 7th. She made it 5 days. And then on the 6th day, she ended up eating a bunch of candy. And I said to her, how did that happen? And she goes, David, I swear to God, I don't know. All right. Now, part of what she's saying is true. And this is why. Her subconscious mind, by her own patterns of her actions on a daily basis of eating sugar, had created this concept that we like this. This is healthy. This is good. This is normal. Now, the subconscious doesn't know what's healthy, good, or normal. All it says is this: if you keep repeating something, drinking, overspending, drugs, fighting, arguing, if you keep repeating something, you're telling the subconscious that this is what you want. So all it does is regurgitate what you have fed it. If you listen, and what's going on right now in the world, if you're part of the media, you're screwed. If you watch the news, you're screwed. If you pay attention to social media with all the insanity, you're screwed. You know why? Because no one knows what's true and false. Everyone's freaking lying constantly. So if you're taking this in, and I can tell you stories of friends of mine that I have removed in the last year because all they want to do is talk conspiracy theory. Well, one of them came back. One guy that I let go as a friend 4 months ago came back last week. I mean, basically on his knees going, I got addicted to this conspiracy crap. I am so sorry that I pushed you to the limit of you kicking me out of your life. And it's true. His subconscious, because he kept listening to this crap every day, watching this shit on TV every day, his subconscious was so... What's that?
Storming the Capitol yesterday. Hey.
Is that a rational move? Is storming the Capitol rational? Is it logical? No, it's subconscious. So those people had accepted a bunch of lies. They had accepted a bunch of nonsense that they took as truth. This is pretty fascinating stuff. And that shows you how powerful the subconscious is. If they hadn't been paying so much attention to the crap coming out of Washington, they never would have stormed the Capitol.
Right.
But because they're addicted to the political insanity, their subconscious took over and said, no, this is what we need to do. We need to take up arms. We need to fight. We need to blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not a logical answer. So if it's not logical, we know it's coming from the subconscious. So the subconscious is what 90% of my work is about, helping people learn how to turn it around. The subconscious can be a saboteur, as in the case of the Capitol, or it can be an ally. So if you get up in the morning and you go to work and you brush your teeth every day without thinking about it, that's the subconscious as an ally. So you put in the practice for 25, 35, 45, 55 years that you don't leave the house without brushing. You don't have to think about it. The subconscious says, oh, now the subconscious doesn't know that brushing your teeth is healthy. All it knows is what we do.
Right.
It acts on the known. When Gina, when you and I became alcoholics, in the beginning, it was a conscious choice to drink. There comes a time, though, where it turns from conscious to subconscious, and all of a sudden we go, Jesus, where did that bottle of wine go? Like we're drinking and we're not paying attention, but the subconscious is saying, hey, we need another one.
Yeah. And the place is closed and oh my God, you panic. By the end, you have to have a place to go because there's more drinking to be done.
Well, the subconscious says we can have more. We don't have enough. We're stumbling. We're drunk. We don't know where we are, but we haven't had enough. And that's the subconscious mind. So, in everyone who's with us today, whatever you're trying to change, if it's been with you for a while, give yourself time. In the book, we say any major issue that you've carried for more than 5 years, it may take up to a year to turn it around. So if you've been abusing alcohol, nicotine, drugs, food for more than 5 years, if you're an emotional spender and you're spending more money than you have for 5 years, give yourself a year to turn that subconscious around. I go into parties to this day and there's cocaine at times and there's always alcohol. I have never, ever had a craving.
I don't. I really don't. I honest to God, it's like before when I thought I couldn't live without it. And now it's like, ugh, I feel like I've wasted so much time. I could have the businesses that I started, the things that I accomplished after that, the money that I made, whatever. If I had done that earlier, damn, could have been so much better. But I got to remind you, you were talking about writing.
Writing. So here we go. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. So here we go. So we're talking about the subconscious and how do you access it? It's the subconscious. You can't access it with your conscious mind. You can't take this part and go around and back and go, what am I thinking back here? The only way that you can tell if your subconscious is a saboteur in a certain area of life or an ally is that area of life a problem or is it effortless? If you have an area of life that's a problem, it's a subconscious issue. You have fed it. You've listened to people who have given you incorrect information. You've bought incorrect information. So if you're raised in a household where dad screams at mom or mom hits dad, and you're there for 18 years, you will see and believe that that's normal in a marriage. Everyone goes through this. This is a really tough thing. Now, some kids come out of those environments and they're normal. It's very odd and very rare that you can come out of an abusive marriage for 18 years where you're a child and not have major issues. Most of us have major issues. If you see mom and dad with no physical affection, no physical touch, they don't hold hands, they don't kiss, they don't do anything at all, you will probably come out in one of two ways from that 18 years. You either come out as touch avoidant, that you don't need the PDA, you don't need the public displays of affection. That's not who you are, even though it's who you are and what you freaking need in order to be healthy. You'll come out because you saw for 18 years that that wasn't part of their marriage. Or you'll come out, and in my case, and I can tell you a personal example, my mom and dad, unfortunately, they're both dying right now. They've been extremely beautiful parents. They didn't know how to raise me, so we had a really hard 18 years. I was a very troubled child. I had a lot of issues growing up, and that's why I became a therapist, quite frankly. I could see that there was shit that I didn't know how to handle, and it was exciting to find out that, wow, where did this come from? I can find the origin. My mom and dad never touched or kissed. They held hands every once in a while, but there was no physical affection. I came out at 18 wanting to hug, love everyone in the world. I was so starved from not having it and not seeing it. And then at 30 years of age, guys, I come home and I just decided, I've been doing this work now for 8 years and I love this work. And all my clients I hug and all my clients I love. And I go home to visit my mom and dad, and I walked in the door and my dad puts his hand out to shake my arm and I go, no way, brother. And I grabbed him in a bear hug because he's a tiny little man. I grabbed him and hugged him, and he did the TP hug.
Oh,
where your hips are as far apart as possible. Okay, so here's a hug. Here's a TP hug. So people that are not used to physical hugs, they'll put their butt back, their hips away because they don't want that space invaded. Yep. But because it was my dad, I said, I don't care if you don't want it. I'm going to start hugging you every time I see you. Do you know that the next year when I came home, my dad stood there with open arms?
Oh. I always say, when I get sad, I need a daddy hug because my dad gives the best hugs.
Yeah.
And but they were very few and far between. Because my parents fought with cats and dogs. I mean, they really did. And it was like I had 3 older siblings. They were each a year apart. 5 years later, whoops me.
Yeah.
Safe space for that.
Trouble from the age of 9, but I was very goal oriented. I was very into making money. You know what I mean? Because I wanted, and we were poor. So if we wanted anything, we have to work for it. I had at 12 years old, I made more money in a weekend than my mother did working all week because I busted my ass.
Right on.
And that's what I did. So I was like, okay.
So Gina, so what happened in your case then is you could say that you took the motivation that you didn't receive from your mom and dad, and let's just even say money. You saw that your mom wasn't working as hard, so you went the opposite direction, just like I went the opposite direction with physical touch, right? So how we find out where the subconscious is through the challenges that we're facing. Any area of life that you have a problem, it's a subconscious problem, and it's a pattern that you fed it, either by listening to incorrect information or hanging around with people that fed you information that wasn't healthy, or peer pressure. There's something that's getting you to do things that are unnatural and not healthy. So we want to turn that subconscious around. So the first way to find out what's my subconscious saying about my health is look at your body. Look at the food you eat. Look at the stuff you drink. If it's all crap, then you know you have fed the subconscious the incorrect information about healthy eating. If you look at finances and it's always right to the T, you just have enough money to get by. That's a subconscious issue. You know, are you an emotional spender? Did your mom and dad have no rules about money? Did they not teach you? You know, my dad was an accountant, which is why he did the TP, right? Like, he wasn't a touchy-feely guy. I never learned a damn thing from him about accounting because I didn't get along with him as a child. He could have taught me and saved me so many problems I hit financially early in my career if I would have listened to my brilliant dad, but I didn't, right? So the first way to see what's going on with the subconscious is, where are my challenges? Because that's the subconscious issue. But the second thing is that we always give people opportunities to write. And in the writing exercises, sometimes they will come up with stuff that will shock the heck out of them. They didn't even know was there because it's coming while they're free flow writing. So when you're writing, the conscious mind slows down and the subconscious mind starts to become more active. And that's where some people can write thrilling novels and not even know where they're coming from. It's all in the subconscious mind,
Yeah.
And so we want to do writing to slow the brain down and then to look at, what do I need to change to alter finances, health, relationships, etc.
Okay. On that note, hold on 2 seconds. It's time.
Okay, all right. We have to go for a little station break. We will be back 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Don't go nowhere.
The Fox Den is now proudly sponsored by Vortex Ghost Gear, one of the leading fabricators of paranormal equipment. Bob Christopher is the founder and creator of Vortex Ghost Gear. He has decades of investigating, starting with his team at NEPA, and as lead in the popular local TV show Ghost Detectives, he has experience of how spirits could be seen or heard. Using this knowledge, he has manufactured equipment for specific scenarios of spirit manifestation and communication. He is the only manufacturer of the popular lifelike trigger prop cats and dogs. Using proximity meters wired to lights and sound, these prove to be highly effective communication devices in the field of study. The HTO, another Vortex exclusive, allowing specific items to be the highlight or trigger of your investigation. For example, place the item on a metal tray or attach directly to any metal object such as keys or glasses that continue to go missing or moved. Ask the spirit to touch the item. The HTO will light. It has a sound option as well. This device was used in Travel Channel's Ghost Nation with great results. The Dome, a static detector, can be the most useful device in your gear bag. This is to back up the theory that the spirits manifest using static electricity. Using several, you can track a spirit, for example, walking down a hallway, setting off each as it passes. The Geophone detects vibrations. This is another way to track movement. If a claim is footsteps in the hallway or stairwell, set the sensitivity and place the device in that area. Its band of lights will show a range of vibrations from the slightest tapping, lighting only a few lights, to the loudest thumping, lighting the entire range. The Easy Scan ghost boxes are very popular due to the ease of use. They are custom decorated to the individual or team using them. Bob programs and uses an Arduino-based computer scanning FM waves to potentially communicate with the spirit realm in real time. Every box is unique and all custom hand decorated by Gina Bankston. The V-Pod has a special place for those who love the idea of REM pods. Use this sleeker, smaller, easier to transport device. It is a must-have in your gear bag. Take your investigating to the next level with many of Vortex Ghost Gear's unique and custom creations by Bob Christopher. Visit www.vortexghostgear.com to view all the products and get your equipment today. You can also investigate with Bob and Gina with ghostly excursions, taking people to some of the most haunted locations in the USA. Visit www.ghostlyexcursions.com and join us on our next adventure. Okay, we have now, Mama. We're back. we were talking about writing and the subconscious part of the brain. And I mean, like you said, it could be a saboteur or it can be
An
uh,
ally.
an ally. So when is it? When is it the ally now? Like it's
So when you effortlessly go to a party and you don't drink because you've chosen to be sober and it doesn't bother you and you don't think about it, now the subconscious is an ally.
okay.
For people that want to test themselves before they've really got a great recovery program down, they'll go to a party and then they'll relapse. And it has nothing to do with genetics. I want to make a really strong point here, and this is something that the whole world battles over. Thank God I have the right answer. But genetics does not cause alcoholism. I mean, this is a bunch of crap. Alcoholism is a choice. It is a choice for me at 12 years of age. It was a choice to fit in with the 16-year-olds, to go down to the beach where they were hanging out and to drink warm Budweiser that tasted like crap, and then drink another one because I wanted to fit in, and then continue to do that. Now, I do have the alcoholic gene. I have an aunt that died of a horrendous death from alcoholism. There's alcoholism all over our family, but that's not the reason I started drinking. Now, if you have the gene and you have 2 or 3 or 4, and then it gets kicked in, that's where you run into problems with genetics, where that gene will then encourage, and it'll have that void that cannot be filled, and you'll drink more than you ever could believe. You could black out, you can puke, you could do that for the rest of your life. But the gene isn't the issue. The issue is whether we're food, alcohol, spending issues, sex addiction. It's not the gene that's causing us to be sex addicts. It's the fact that we do not know how to deal with life's emotions. Every addiction is caused by the same thing. We have not a clue how to deal with sadness, resentment, rejection, criticism, abandonment, low self-confidence, low self-esteem, grief, guilt. We don't have a clue. So we try to find a substance or an activity that will take us out of our current reality. Nicotine, alcohol, drugs, sugar, they do it all perfectly. They work excellently to remove us from the emotion we don't want to feel for a short period of time. So let's just get really clear. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your gene. One of the problems, again, Gene, and I know AA was great for you, but one of the problems that I have is that they create this codependent nature. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic.
See, I was with a group that wasn't so regimented. It wasn't like candy coated. It was actually a men's group that I went to. I did everything wrong, but I related better to men just doing the things that I did. I was a physical worker. I was in construction. I was in that type of a field and that environment. And I related to men. I was more cut and dry than that. I'm more black and white. I don't want to be pat on the back. I'm not that. I'm not a coddler. Yeah. And I don't want to be coddled. Right. So I went to men's meetings, which is wrong, okay, for women to do that.
Yeah, women aren't supposed to go to men's meetings. You're right. But my concern is this. When they make statements at every meeting, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, that is an absolute freaking lie. I wish I could use a stronger word. It is such a damn lie. I can? Okay. I am sitting here sober for years after being a raging fucking alcoholic. And if it was genetically caused, none of us should be sober, gang. If it's caused by genetics, it should have to have an operation, a pharmaceutical. If it's genetics, there needs to be a genetic answer. There ain't one. The answer is do the damn work. We have a holistic addiction recovery program that is killer. After I got out of the treatment center that I was in and I saw how terrible most treatment centers are, we said, we're creating our own program. And we did, But it is not the gene. The gene doesn't drive you to the damn bar, open the door, force a beer down your throat. The gene doesn't make you go to a party and snort cocaine. This is all just so insane to me. And yet, these messages are still being passed on today. Well, it's just because of your genetics. It's not your fault. It's your genes. Hell no, it's your fault. It is absolutely your fault if you're an alcoholic or an addict of any type. It is absolutely 100% your fault. Now, if you have the balls to accept that, you can heal from anything. I don't care how long you've been an addict to food, nicotine, drugs, alcohol. You can heal anything if you have the desire to heal. But if you're going to fall back on these cute words, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, well, my foot's out the door. If I would have bought into that, I love that. Well, my relapse, because, once you're an alcoholic, you're always one. What a great excuse to relapse. But listen to this, guys, and this is how I work with my addiction program. We say to people coming in, if you're not going to commit to sobriety for life, I can't work with you. One day at a time doesn't cut it. One day at a time does not cut it.
Enough, and this is it.
Yeah. And whether we're talking about food, sex, nicotine, drugs, alcohol, I don't care.
Personality is addictive personality. Whatever it is that makes you feel good, that's what you want more of, and you can't stop doing.
And if you don't say you're going to clean up for life, don't even bother getting sober. And I know that's a strong statement, but I'm serious. I'm so sick and tired of people complaining about the fact that they can't get sober. They can't. It's because they're not doing the work. So let's drop the nonsense and let's look in the mirror and say, I'm an alcoholic today. I'm a food addict today. I'm a nicotine addict today because I choose to be one.
Yeah.
I can choose to go get help. I can choose for free to go to 12-step. Don't tell me you don't have money. I can go free to celebrate recovery at a church in my town. I can go to free to Smart Recovery. I can go to free to Rational Recovery. There's thousands of programs. Go to intherooms.com. You don't even have to leave your freaking house. Watch recovery meetings all day long. But don't tell me that you are an addict because of genetics or an alcoholic or because you've been one so long you can't get clean. Let's get real here. And first of all, Gina and Mama D, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you allowing me to be clear, you allowing me to be strong, you allowing me to tell the truth, because there's not a lot of people out there that want to hear this truth. Right. There's a lot of people that want to make excuses, but not hear the truth.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing. But the other big thing that you mentioned was look in the mirror. What is the biggest thing that people do not want to do? Point the finger at themselves in the mirror and say, you're the problem. No, it's they're the problem. They're the problem. That's the, God abandoned me. It's every excuse in the book to not go look in that mirror. And that is the thing that people need to do.
Yeah. Well, it's hard, Gina and Mama D, it takes a powerful person to say, I'm an addict to spending. I'm addicted to drinking. I'm addicted to righteousness. There's a lot of very strong Christians that are so addicted to righteousness. It's their way, or if you don't go to my church, you're going to hell. That kind of nonsense speaking. And yes.
We had a guest who went there. Everybody was going to heaven except dogs, and that just sort of ticked off a lot of buttons in our books.
Yeah.
But
he's gonna have the room right below God. Like if there was a big high tower, he was gonna have the room right below God. That's
the whole floor.
Yeah.
And anybody who did divination, I am a Reiki healer and I do oracle readings. But because it wasn't given a gift from him and he sanctioned it, I was the devil. But he didn't say it in those words. He just sort of, he kept trying to get me to say amen to his stuff. And I think I said it once, but that was something sarcastic.
I talked to, I'm a paranormal investigator. What I mean?
People. I bet he loved that.
The commercial we just showed, he said, before we went to break, he says, he went on to the topic of paranormal people who go hunting for ghosts and yada, yada, yada. He says, those people are from, and I said, okay, we got to go to break now. And we show that. It's like, oh, yeah, that went over like a little balloon.
I bet it did.
That was funny.
But if the only way I can work is being honest. I can't come on your show or any other show. As a matter of fact, just an example of how terrible media has become. About 2 months ago, I was invited on a radio show and they wanted me to talk about how to be logical during the pandemic, how to be safe during the pandemic. So I'm jumping in this interview. We're into it for 10 minutes and I'm saying, get the hell off of news shows. Don't listen to conspiracy videos. Don't watch the media. I'm going, and she stopped the interview. And I didn't know she stopped it, right? And so then I waited for her to ask a question, and she didn't. She said, "Hey, I had to stop the interview." I said, "What's going on?" She goes, "We can't say that on this station." I said, "We can't say what?" She goes, "We can't say don't listen to the news because we do a news break every half hour." I said, "Wait a minute. Is this a journalistic interview or is this an infomercial?"
Yeah.
Because it sounds like an infomercial to me. Now you're going to tell me, the guest, what I can and cannot say.
Nope.
I said, I've never been on a radio show of any type like this. And she said, "Well, my boss who owns the station would flip out if you said those things. So let's start over." I said, "You know
No.
what? You've just lost your guest."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have too. Bye-bye.
It's like, come on, people don't want to hear the truth. Now she was trying to save her job. I'm not mad at her. I
Yeah.
totally
No.
understand that she could lose her job. But it's like, and I said to her as I was leaving, I said, "Hey, if you have any other guest on, please don't do this to them during the interview. Tell them ahead of time that they have to say certain things and they can't say other things. Send them a freaking email of what they can and cannot say. If you want to do it that way." I said, "Good luck finding good guests, because any guest is going to say no to that has any kind of balls, you know." But
Mhm.
anyway, truth. Let's stay with truth.
Yeah, stay with truth. And it does, and it takes a lot of balls to do what you did by saying that you were doing this, the positive affirmation and positive thinking and the law of attraction for 16 years of
Because
your
at,
life.
at that moment when you said the law of attraction is full of, why am I not saying the word? But anyway, there was a lot of people kind of going, ooh,
She doesn't,
ouch,
she doesn't have me feeding her swear jar, but she won't feed mine. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
black over
I see her feed her swear jar in French.
Well, and let's go back to why people cringe when I say this. They cringe because they wish it was true. They cringe
Hmm.
because they don't want to do the work, but they want to make $1,000,000. They cringe
Yeah,
because they don't want to do the work, but they want to have a great relationship. So I understand why people cringe when I say this stuff. Trust
yeah,
me. But the one thing that I want to remind all of our listeners is that if I hadn't taught this for 16 years, I wouldn't have the right to be so strong in my statement.
yeah,
If
that's
I
true.
if I didn't teach this, I wouldn't have this right. But I taught it. It
no,
didn't work.
no,
I kept teaching it because my gurus kept telling me that it was the way to go. And when
Yeah,
you're young and impressionable in a career, you're going to believe people that are all over the news. You're going to believe people that have millions of followers, even if they're wrong.
yeah,
And I love my gurus, but they were wrong. They were wrong in that case.
But you have
exactly.
all these books out there and CDs and all this kind of stuff. So all of these things are still available. And let's see, I have davidessel.com, right? They can get in touch with you
Yeah.
there. I have the special courses, and you have specialty relationship things too: love and relationships, codependency kills, depression and anxiety, financial freedom now, holistic addiction recovery, public speaking, advanced spiritual studies, weight loss now and forever, sports psychology and athletes, life coach certification, level 1, 2, and 3, change your life now, real estate success, and life mastery and online courses. So all those things there you can look at over here. He does so many things. I
Yeah.
mean, you're out there with a lot of things, and yet you have a book called Focus.
That statement, we teach what we most need to learn ourselves.
Yeah, but this is
Yeah,
the latest one. This is the latest one. No, but you do focus when you get your one thing done at a time.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
And that is the point of the book actually. And you really get it. You really drive it home, and you really do get that point across. Like you want to get the skull, you want to get the weight loss done, then get up and go for that walk. And you said 5 days a week. You
That's
know,
fine.
every week, every week. And it can be, it doesn't have to be you going for, a 10-mile hike, right from the get-go, but you
Right.
can get up to that really kind of easily,
Gina, one of the greatest ways that I help people to increase their exercise without them even knowing it is I'll say,
just
start with
chit chat.
walking 20 minutes a day. Okay. Just 20 minutes a day. And after the first week, add a minute a day.
There you go.
And all of a sudden they're at 45 minutes and they had no idea they could ever walk for 40. And then they're at 60 minutes. They had no idea, because when you add a minute a day, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything much. I mean, it's 60 seconds for God's sake. But over the 30 days, that's 30 extra minutes.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And you reference to speaking of days, you reference a lot about the 90 days, which is, again, this is kind of like an AA thing that, you know, you want 90 meetings, 90 days, it was always 90, 90, 90. That is a good period of time. It's a good period of time to get over things like physical things, physical addiction, your subconscious things, your habits. You know, it's a good time to do that if you focus on that time. Once you get to that point, then you have new subconscious good things in there, and you can, you know, maybe lighten up if you want, you know, if you want. But if you really want to succeed, then you don't, you know, and you do more. So I like the references. I really like how the book is. And you have and the accountability is like a key, a must. You have 3 keys that you talk about. Talk about that. Can you talk about that? Your 3 keys?
Intention, gratitude, and action.
Yes.
Yeah, the 3. So, you know, when we talk about, because I still do affirmations, you know, I mean, I do them every morning, but I just do everything in my first hour. I don't think about it during the day. Like, I don't go, oh my God, I better start thinking about an affirmation again. You know, I just do it in the morning and let it go, right? Because the affirmation is only there for motivation. It's not there to change a damn thing. You know, affirmations are supposed to be done to get you inspired to act.
Yes.
Think about that. An affirmation is supposed to inspire you to act to achieve your goal. It doesn't achieve the goal on its own. So in the book, we talk about doing a different kind of affirmation. And I have to tell you, this all came from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi with the interview. When he woke me up and showed me, without me admitting to him personally, that I was lying and I was not, I'm being honest, and the law of attraction was not working. Like, this is one of the things that I learned from him. You've got to be focused. You've got to use positive thinking. But in the world of affirmation and intention, as we say in the book, we teach you how to do it all over, brand new now. The affirmations and the intentions, and we use affirmation and intention simultaneously. We believe they're the same thing. Your intention to change or an affirmation to change is the same thing. So you can use whatever you want. In the book, I like the word intention. And so we say, instead of saying, I am a size 6 when you're a size 70, we say, I am moving from size 70 to size 6 by eating healthy, exercising daily, and meditating. So that's the new affirmation. You know, I am moving from $50,000 a year to $75,000 a year by getting out of my comfort zone and hiring a business coach. So that's the kind of new affirmation we're talking about. They're exciting, they're realistic, but they're not obnoxiously fantastical thinking. Mm-hmm. When people don't realize this, guys, when you say an affirmation like, I am earning $1 million a year, there's 2 things that we forget about. First of all, that's $82,000 a month. Mm-hmm. How many people in this country have the gifts, the talents, the persistence, and the work ethic to earn $82,000 freaking dollars a month? I can tell you it's 2%. Statistically, okay? Yeah, and about 2% of the U.S. population earns $1 million. That's $82,000 a month. So when you're saying an affirmation and you do not have the skills, the talent, the determination, and the work ethic to earn $82,000 a month, you're lying to yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You're out of integrity. But if you say, I earn $50,000, and in the year 2021, by hiring a business coach, I will earn $75,000, which is a massive increase, right? That's a massive increase. And then when you hit 75,000 at month 6, you can go, holy crap, we already got here. Let's up it to 100. So then the next rest of the year, see, this is realistic intentions. What's that?
Don't set yourself up for failure.
No, but we want it to be, we want to have an intention for something you don't have. Yeah. And that's why we say, I am moving towards, right? Then let's go into gratitude. Okay. And this is where, God, I just read this the other day from a famous guru and it drives me nuts. He said, all of your gratitude should be for things that you don't have. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have a brand new car, you say, I am so grateful for my $300,000 Mercedes. I am so grateful to be living in Bali. This is how he's teaching. Now, he's not the only one. There's millions of teachers doing this stuff, right? I used to teach it. I know how ridiculous this is. But you know what really turned me around when I was doing all my work was Eckhart Tolle. When he wrote the book, The Power of Now, he gave us all the most amazing gift in the world. And that is this: have gratitude for what you have today.
Yep.
Don't worry about another damn thing. Don't mess up your brain. Be grateful. I don't care if your car is barely making it. Be grateful that you have a car. Be grateful you have a home. Be grateful. Like Eckhart Tolle gave us the greatest gift in the world to get away from the secret, to get away from the crap, to get away from the fantastical thinking, to get away from the law of attraction. He says, be grateful now. Reverend Matthew Fox, I interviewed him years ago. He had a great statement. I said to him, what's the most powerful prayer in the world? And he goes, David, that's a great question. And there's only one that I say every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's a good one. That is good. That is good.
He says, I thank God for everything because there's something for me to grow in.
Yeah.
Powerful.
People are always sitting there, and when we say this to them all the time, you know, they don't have the biggest house. They don't have the best car. They don't have the best job. But you know what? Be thankful that you have a house. Be thankful that you have a car.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you have a roof over your head. You got food in your belly. You know, yeah. If you got love, if you don't, go get it. You know what I mean? Do the work.
Exactly. And the other type, you know, we have an addiction to the future. If you have, like, I'm so grateful for my house in Bali, and you don't have a house in Bali. Now you're addicted to the future. You're addicted to fantasy. It's all fantastical thinking. It's not reality. You're lying to yourself. You know what I mean? I can keep going over this stuff, and it's important to go over it because we've been taught so long the wrong ways. And then, of course, the third step, you know, we have intention, gratitude, and then action. And, you know, action is the gorilla. Action is the gorilla. This is what's going to take you, you know, from where you are to where you want to be. But the key is we need to do action steps we don't want to do. That's the key. It's not busy work. You know, people can say, oh, like I have some real estate agents and they're underperforming. By the way, do you guys know what the average real estate agent makes on an annual basis in the United States of America?
No clue.
Mama D, any idea?
No, first off, I'm Canadian, so no.
Okay. You could still have a guess, honey.
I have no idea. I think they make a percentage of sale, but then it depends on their sales, so it's not a solid figure.
Right, but we do have an average. The average is $36,000.
Well, that's it, really. That's a lot of work for that.
That's the average real estate agent.
That's why you have that for.
Convenience store for let's try.
Are you cutting out, Mama? I didn't hear a word you said.
I don't know. Don't worry about
it. Say it again. Well, say it again.
I said that's just a little bit above my annual salary, and I am a cashier at a convenience store.
Okay. So, and I make this point for a reason. So people become real estate agents so they can have control of their time. They can pick up the dry cleaning at 2. They can go to the gym at noon. They can pick up their kids at 3. Like they're doing it because they don't want to have a full-time job behind a store counter in a cubicle or whatever. So they think, wouldn't this be great to be a real estate agent? I'll make millions of dollars and I can have my own time. But the funny thing is that the only real estate agents that are making money are those that are doing what we say in step 3 with action. They're doing the steps they don't want to do. Here's a great story. So in 2000, my cousin, who was a broker in real estate for 40 years, called me up and he said, hey, I've got this brand new kid. He's got a lot of potential as a real estate agent. He needs a lot of focus. I need you to go ahead and work with him. And I said, Gary, I know nothing about real estate. I mean, I bought houses and sold them, but I've never done it. I hire a real estate agent to do it. And he goes, listen. He goes, you work with salespeople at Nestle, Boeing, Discover Card. All this guy is a salesperson. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So very first meeting, young kid, very energetic, very, very much a go-getter. He says to me, so it's May and we're in the state of Florida. And he goes, so are we going to set up a plan to start in September? I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, I've been here for a couple months and I'm listening to all the experienced agents. And they say that during the summertime, it's the off season in Florida. and they don't put as much time in. They use that time to golf and go on vacation, and they'll put in a couple hours a day. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, here's our deal. If you want to work with me, we start today, and we put in 50 hours a week, nothing less. You don't have to put in more, but you can't put in less. And if you don't want to start today and start with 50 hours a week, then I'm probably not your guy. So he was shocked. He goes, but why are all these people saying it? I said, I don't know why they're saying it. Maybe they're all very wealthy, or maybe they just don't want to work. But you need to work and you need money. Long story short, the average real estate agent will sell $1 million, maybe a little bit more of real estate in their first year of business. If they sell 2 million, that's pretty impressive. If they sell 3 million, that's very impressive. We got him at 10 million in sales in his first year of business. And the reason why is because while everyone else was out playing golf, this guy's putting in 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Okay. At the end of the summer, he had more money coming in than he knew what to do with. And 85% of the other agents that didn't work because it's off season were blown away, saying he was lucky. He just happened to be at the right place at the right time, all that kind of stuff. But so what we say in the step of action, if it's weight loss, if it's money, if it's love, do what you don't want to do every day first. And if you do the action steps every day that you don't want to do, you will be successful. And that's why 90% of people in our country don't have the life that they want, because they aren't willing to do the uncomfortable steps, guys. And that's really where the key to success is.
And another point that I want to make too is that you're not just teaching this. Can you live this? These are life lessons too. So, things that you learn the hard way. Yeah. And love, so you are a love relationship coach as well. And you were highly codependent.
Oh my God, I tell this in the book. Listen, this is one of the greatest stories in the world, right? Because here I am as a counselor and a coach, and I've been in relationship counseling for 30 years now. And, I should really have it all together. So it's kind of funny what happened. But there's another therapist in the town I live in. And in 1997, she contacted me and said, hey, David, I've got some issues going down in my relationship. And I'm wondering if you want to trade. So let's barter services. I'll counsel you for whatever you got going on in your life. And you counsel me. And I said, great. Oh, Cheryl, thank you. That was so sweet.
She's a love.
Oh, she is a love. We love Cheryl. Yes. I think we should call it the Fox Den with Gina B, Mama D, and Cheryl. Anyway.
For tonight, we
will. So here she calls me. She says, you want to do a trade? And I go, yeah. So we go in and she's telling me about her issues. And she said, what's going on with you? And I said, well, I've been with the same woman for a number of years and it's just okay. She said, what do you mean by okay? And I said, well, we get along, but then I stray at times and, I may not be the greatest partner and all this other kind of stuff. And so we worked together for a month. At the end of the month, she said, David, we were going to end it a month, but we can't. And I said, why is that? And she said, because I want to tell you something and I'm willing to help you, but I want you to listen to this. Even as a counselor, you are the most codependent man I've ever met in my life in intimate relationships.
And here's another slap in your face.
From 1996 to 1997, I got beat up a lot, guys. Those 2 years were hell. They were life-changing. And I looked at her and I said, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not Listen, I've owned my own business since 1980. That's 17 years ago. I'm a counselor. I'm a coach. I'm an author. What the hell are you talking about? I'm codependent. And then she started going through every relationship that I was ever in that I had given her the information. And every relationship, I was saving somebody. Fernando, thank you.
And
you guys have some great listeners.
He's from Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. We love Brazil.
Hopefully you subscribe, Fernando.
Yeah.
that is awesome.
We have some awesome guests. Yeah.
So she says, she goes, you are always looking for women to save. And I said, what are you talking about? Then she went through the 5 women I had talked to her about. And I was rescuing one from financial distress. I was rescuing another one because her mother was an absolute raging alcoholic that was destroying her life. I rescued another because her ex-husband was bothering her on a regular basis. I rescued another because she had no idea what to do with a career and she had 3 kids on her own. So all of a sudden, I go, oh my God. Now listen, in 1997, we didn't know much about codependency like we do today. It was almost like a hidden secret. People didn't talk about it, you know? And so I ended up working with this counselor for 365 days in a row, and she was right. I was the most freaking codependent man in the world. And then what I did was I took 2 years off, and the first year was complete celibacy. And she didn't give me that exercise. I gave it to myself because I said, you know what? If I'm going to get clean from this addiction to codependency, if I'm going to quit saving women, and here's the thing. As a guy, you think you're doing the right thing because this woman is struggling here, this woman is struggling there. And as the woman, she is ecstatic. Oh my God, my Prince Charming. He's a counselor. He's smart. He's blah, 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 right? And then as a guy, and this is in the subconscious, we start expecting something in return for our greatness. Well, I'm helping you financially. I just rescued you.
What do I get? What do I get?
Yeah, what do I get out of this, right? So then I start wanting something more, and then they start getting resentful that I want something more, and then they get, and it turns into a cluster. And this is what this therapist was sharing with me. And I said, my God, everything you're saying is right. So I ended up taking the 2 years off. Now, since then to today, have I slipped back into codependent relationships? Yes. And they last about 2 days. And all of a sudden I go, what the hell am I doing? I reawaken myself and I go, look, I made a mistake. I shouldn't be with you because of these reasons. I'm here to save you. I don't need to save you. And what the therapist said to me was so true. She goes, David, you've shared only 5 women that you've been with in the last 20 years or whatever it is. And she said, I'll tell you what, without those 5 women, you would have a lot more money in the bank. And what should have happened with those 5 women is that they should have been your clients. You should have charged them to help them change their life instead of trying to rescue them.
Right. Well, one
it was a great example. Now,
loan too.
What's that?
One you gave a lot of money to that was supposed to be a loan that decided to pay you back because, I don't have to pay you because you were my boyfriend.
Well, let me tell you that story because that's a great one too, Gene. I'm so glad you brought it up. I mean, so she was, in this world of when I'm dating codependent people, and she needed some money. So I loaned her some money, and then she needed more money. And so I loaned her more money. And this time though, I said, I'm going to write an agreement. And she signed the agreement, and then she needed more and more. And I never updated the agreement. That's my fault. Okay. This is David Essel's fault. So then we get to this point where there's a lot of money out, and I'm saying, hey, we need to start paying it back. So she says, okay, how about, I don't know, it's $100 a week or something. And I go, well, okay, I'll be paid back in 2050. Let's do that. It's better than not getting anything. And after about a month of giving me $100 a week, I get a text. And it says, hey, honey, I just want to let you know, I was just talking with my mom and my girlfriends, and they both said the same thing. I don't have to pay you money back anymore because you're my boyfriend, and that's what boyfriends do. They give their girlfriends money. And I lost it, right? I absolutely lost it. And so I called her and I said, this has got to be a joke. And she said, no, I'm not going to pay you back. And so I said, and we were living together. And I said, okay, you have 24 hours to vacate the property. And if you don't vacate in 24 hours, I will vacate you for you if you don't do it. And I said, and I'm not messing. You're gone.
Before she got home.
Yeah.
Right out the window.
The stuff is gone, right? Years go by, and every time someone would bring her name up, my stomach would roll over, and I said, wait a second. There's something wrong with this picture. It's been a number of years. I've had no interaction. That means I haven't done the work. That means I haven't forgiven her. So I took 8 months of writing. We have a 4-step process to forgiveness. We've helped people forgive people that have been raped. There was a woman I helped that she was raped and left for dead. We had her forgive the rapist. She wrote letters to him in prison. He recently died. But we got her in a year to not only fully forgive the rapist, we got her writing letters hoping that he has found peace and hoping that he has corrected what he's done in the past. I mean, mind-blowing stuff. So this...
I gotta say right here though, that is so important for yourself. When you do that and you can forgive such a horrific thing like that, that only benefits you. And a lot of people be like, how could you forgive a bastard that did that to you? That's like the worst thing on the planet they could do. Yeah, but it's for me. It's for your
Absolutely.
kids, you know, and
Listen,
you gotta trust someone else if you can't let all that go. It's gotta go.
it has to, whether it's, like we've worked with incest victims where there was one woman whose father sexually assaulted her from 11 to 21. We got her to forgive. I mean, we have so many stories of forgiveness, and it's work. Like I do this for a living and it took me 8 months to forgive her. But here's the greatest thing that people are shocked about when I tell this story. So it took me 8 months to forgive her. I hadn't been in contact with her that much or at all. And I'd never told her that I'm doing forgiveness work. And all of a sudden, there was this massive hurricane coming to Florida. She lived in a really old house. She had 2 kids living with her at the time. The house could never sustain it. So the day after I ended forgiving her, we get this notification that within 48 hours, this category 5 hurricane is going to hit us, our town. So I just sent her a text and I said, hey, listen, I haven't talked to you in a long time. I just want to let you know that this hotel on this street has the generators. Please get out of your house now, get your kids and get into that hotel. I called, there's 10 rooms left. I'm sure you can find one. Please call now. Within 10 seconds, I got a return text from her saying, I can't believe this. I treated you so poorly. And here you are reaching out, trying to help me. I am blown away. I am so sorry.
At least she felt guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. And she never mentioned about, paying me back or anything. And I let it go. I said, not a problem. I just want to let you know I'm good with you. What happened in the past is in the past. I'm not carrying it forward anymore. I just want your kids safe. We get through the hurricane. I hadn't heard from her for a couple months. And then she sends me a text message thanking me again so much for everything I've done. She said, you've taught me so much. And she said, I'm going to ask you something. And I hope this doesn't upset you. She said, I'm really struggling in a relationship with a new boyfriend. Would you work with me? Would you work with him? And I said, absolutely.
Wow, that is progress. That's
and this is available, Gina and Mama D. What I just experienced and shared with you, I have no special talents in forgiveness. I know how to do it because I created a process that's 4 steps long. If I can do this, I have no gifts other than being a human being that wanted to forgive. And as Gina said, you're right. I did it for my sake. I didn't want my stomach turning anymore. I didn't want when I heard her name that I was going to be pissed off. That's not a healthy way to live. So I did it for me. But the end result is just about a month ago, I worked with her and her boyfriend again, and helping them get through some of the issues they have. This is life. This is personal growth. This is self-love. Everything I'm sharing with you is about self-love. If you love yourself enough, you'll get clean and sober. If you love yourself enough, you'll forgive your parents who abused you. If you love yourself enough, you'll forgive your ex-husband or ex-wife who abused you. If you don't love yourself enough, you'll come up with excuses of why you need to keep them on the cross, crucified, even though they're not suffering at all. They're not suffering. You're suffering. So get yourself off the cross. Do the work. Feel freedom. Like I won't mention my former girlfriend's name, but we texted the other day, like Happy New Year or something like that. I can tell you this without a shadow of a doubt. I'll never go back to her, but I love her with all my heart. I love her boyfriend. You can have love without returning to someone, but it can only happen if you've forgiven them. So really think about this.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are listening and they're thinking, well, karma will get them. Karma will bite them in the butt and blah, blah, blah. Now, you bring up karma in the book. So briefly discuss your views on karma, how it relates.
Oh, my God. Okay, well, let me tell you this quick story about the Dalai Lama before I go into karma, because it's going to relate.
Okay.
So the Dalai Lama, of course, is a leader of the Buddhist movement in the United States or the world. He wrote a book, and I forget the name of it. It was something about happiness as a choice or something like that years and years ago. And in the book, he says something very powerful. He says, as the leader of Buddhism, we teach reincarnation as an absolute fact. All of my students believe it. I believe it. But I want to tell you something, to be very honest. Even though I teach it, and even though I believe it, I don't know if it's true. That's a powerful statement from the leader of the Buddhist movement.
Yeah, you
And
can't.
he says, I don't know if it's true because there's no way to prove it. So
Right.
we're going strictly by belief. There's no way to prove that reincarnation is true.
Right. I mean, there's that random child, a 3 or a 4-year-old spouting off, German countries and peoples
Sure.
that, are not in history. You have to actually really physically look them up. You know, then there's like a little bit of proof there that, kind of goes along those lines. But yeah, it's an intangible thing.
We, we still don't know, Gina, and the Dalai Lama was found, and he came from a very poor family, but he was found putting a car engine together at the age of 6 in a barn, or there was some really wild story. And the individuals who believed he was the next Buddha in waiting, the next leader of the Buddhist movement, saw this and took it as a sign. What 6-year-old could do that, right? And so, Gina, what you're saying has some validity, but it still doesn't prove anything. We don't know for sure.
Exactly.
Karma is the same thing. And it's so funny because, when people say karma's a bitch and it's going to get my boyfriend back, you're hurting yourself because that's revenge. That's resentment. That means you've never come close to forgiveness and you are suffering. Your boyfriend's having a blast nailing some other chick right now. So if you think by saying karma's going to get him and bite him in the ass is going to do anything, you're wasting your time. If karma is true, he may find some retribution. If it's not true, he won't feel anything. But either way, your bitching on social media about karma is going to get your boyfriend or girlfriend is an absolute waste of time. And it shows how little knowledge you really have, because that's not the way the world works. And I prove it in that chapter, as Gina said, because I took 2 angles on karma in the chapter. One is that it's absolute and it must work because we've been told that it must work. But then I tell the story of let me tell you one story of Scarlett Lewis, one of my friends, Scarlett Lewis. Her boy, 10 years ago, 6 years of age, Jesse, was murdered in the massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. Okay, so if you are so sure that karma is an absolute, then you must be able to say, Jesse did something terrible to deserve to be murdered. There's no other way. If you believe karma is absolute, then Jesse did something in his 6 years to piss off God or whoever he pissed off to be killed. Now, that's a stretch to me. But then there's other stories I share in the book, like this guy that came to me that had an affair for years on his wife. And he came to me to justify it. And he said, hey, listen, I just want absolution. You're a minister. You do this stuff. I just want absolution. I said, absolution from what? He said, well, I've had a mistress for years now. My wife doesn't know about it. I'm going to keep her. But I wanted to explain to you that I give my wife everything she needs. I give my kids everything I need. So he was wanting me to agree that his affairs were okay. And I said, I can't agree with that. I said, listen, honesty is the only way to go. If you're going to continue to do that. There's no need for us to work together because I'm not going to absolve something that I have no power to absolve. Go to God. See if he'll absolve you and if he'll agree that you should still stay in the affair.
Nope.
Months later, his wife comes in.
Buddy, I don't think you're going to make it there either.
I don't think so. Months later, his wife comes in and she's happy as heck. She loves her husband. She's just bragging about her husband. And she was asking me to help her with something else. So if karma was absolute and this guy had a mistress for 10 years, well, then something should have happened in the relationship. He should have lost his job, maybe from some other reason, right? But he should have been penalized, is what I'm saying, for cheating on his wife.
Yeah.
His wife doesn't know about it. She's happy as hell. As far as I know, he may never pay for it. So that's why when we get into this talk about reincarnation and karma and some of these things that people say are absolute, I just want us to slow down and think that maybe there's other ways.
But karma, it is a touchy thing. It is, and depending on who you're talking to, will give you different explanations too. Karma can be a thing that because of reincarnation, it's going year to year, person to person to person to person. So the ancestors that did this horrible deed, and it's going to continue until someone actually does change it. So if he doesn't change it, the next time he, and then he won't remember this. So he will live this over again.
Well, Gina, in therapy, we call that simply the family cycle, the generational cycle. We don't even go into karma with that. We say that it's handed down. You know, abusers hand down remember what I said earlier, 0 to 18. You're in an abusive household. I don't really consider that karma. I consider that the family cycle, the generational cycle. Alcoholism gets handed down to the next cycle. Abuse, incest, all these things we're talking about get handed down because the parent figures haven't figured out that they need to change what grandma and grandfather did, great grandfather and great grandmother did. So I'm not really sure I look at that as karma as much as I do the family cycle, the generational cycle. You can break the generational cycle, but someone has to be the leader to stand up and say, enough of the addiction in our household. We're going to get sober. You know, it's got to come from the parents. Every once in a while, an adult child can break the family cycle of incest, abuse, addiction, etc. The best way for it to be broken is with the mom and dad is the best way to do it. But if you're 30, 40, 50, or 60 and you say, God, incest has been a part of our family cycle forever. Alcoholism has been a part of our family cycle forever. You have the power to break the family cycle right now if you do the work.
Right.
Yeah.
And teach the children a better way.
Exactly.
And then I mean, that could get me onto a whole bunch of other things, like, you know, children having children, and that drives me crazy too, because they got no business, you know, majority of them.
Let's stop going into.
I'm not going to go. I will not do it. All right, I'm going to because we're getting right down to the end here. We have like 3 minutes left, but I want to bring up Jenny McCarthy.
Love Jenny.
She wrote the foreword in your book and everything. And how did you meet her? How did you come to write this?
Yeah.
Go.
Jenny McCarthy is one of the most phenomenal people I've ever met. You know, I mentioned that I was a radio host for 30 years. Jenny is by far, and I've been a guest on billions of radio shows as well as hosting my own. She is by far the best radio host I have ever been with, and other than you two. She is really exceptional. She's funny as can be. She's super prepared. She asks great questions. She does a lot of her own research. She's gorgeous. I mean, she has the whole package. So it's kind of funny, you know, TJ Torriello, who booked me with you guys, is my publicist, and he got me booked on Jenny. And the booker, Michelle, said, I don't think Jenny's going to want David on the show. His book is called Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but this book will. And Jenny loves positive thinking. So TJ talked her into having me on. So I come into the studio, and Jenny is warm as can be. We're hugging, you know, we're talking, we're having a great time. And then we sit down and she goes, okay, this show is going to be a little different, gang. So I've got a guy here who's telling us that the law of attraction and The Secret is a bunch of nonsense, that positive thinking isn't going to change your life. I've been telling you for years as the host of the show that I love The Secret. I love the law of attraction. I love positive thinking. And this guy says he can convince me that I might be wrong. David Essel is our guest. I'm going to give him 3 minutes. David, you have 3 minutes to convince me that you're right and I'm not, and go. So I took that 3 minutes, gang, and I just rocked it. I really rocked it. And at the end of 3 minutes, she goes, time out. She turns to the microphone and goes, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I was wrong. What David just explained about the way success works, and I'm reflecting, listening to how my success has come into my life. It's never come through positive thinking or vision boards. It's come because I've worked my butt off. David Essel is the new leader of the positive thinking movement. And that's how I met Jenny. And then I went back on her show 5 more times. And every time it's been just freaking beautiful. Because of the pandemic, we haven't been doing it. I think when she goes live back in studio, I'll be back with her with, we just have 2 brand new books on love that came out. So love and relationships. But, she was, and think about, just like I said, how humble the Dalai Lama is to say, I'm not sure reincarnation is real. For Jenny McCarthy, with her status, her title, to say I was wrong. And I only spoke for 3 minutes. It wasn't like I had an hour to convince her. But in 3 minutes, for her to say, holy crap, I have been telling you some things that aren't true, and David Essel is telling you the truth. That takes a lot of humility.
It does. It does. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
and,
I love her.
Yeah. But we are down. I mean, this is it. What do you want? what is the most important thing you want to leave our listeners with? And I'm going to put your website back up there.
Okay. All right. So the most important thing that we need to focus on is hope plus action to change. You are worthy of the life you desire, but it's not going to come from a vision board or an affirmation. It's going to come from you changing your perspective, your outlook, your effort, and your subconscious mindset. Please don't let anyone tell you that you're not worthy of deep love, you're not worthy of making money, you're not worthy of whatever it is you desire. If you have people telling you that you are not worthy of these things, I will ask you in a beautiful way to remove yourself from their presence, to decrease the amount of time you spend with them. And maybe you might even need to look at your whole circle of people that you hang out with. You may have to change your whole circle. If
Yeah.
you believe what I'm sharing with you right now, that you truly are worthy of what you desire, as of tomorrow morning, you will have written a plan to start to change your life. I want that for you. My whole world is dedicated to helping people change. If I can help you, go to the website, look at our books, look at the programs. We work with people from all over the world. You know, I told you I was just on the phone with someone from Thailand. Skype and phone, we work with people from all over, so it doesn't matter where you live. But never give up on yourself. Never give up on those most important dreams. And if you're in a situation right now of abuse, if you're maybe married to someone who's abusing you, or you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, or boyfriend-boyfriend, girlfriend-girlfriend relationship, and you're being abused, the next thing I want you to do tomorrow is I want you to go and ask for help. Women's shelters are phenomenal. Churches have great access to many professionals in town that will work with you if you're a man who's being abused or a woman who's being abused. But this is something very close to my heart. People stay in abusive relationships for years, sometimes a lifetime, because they do not feel worthy of being loved. I can tell you by looking directly in your eyes right now, you are completely worthy of being loved, but you have to be the one to show yourself the way.
Amazing. I really enjoyed this time. This time flew by. I really enjoyed this book, which makes me want to read the others. And I definitely want to stay in touch with you,
Yes.
and new things that come out with you. Because, I mean, if you would come back on, we'd love it.
Oh my God. You guys, are you kidding me? Just tell TJ when and where.
Awesome. Awesome. I
I'm
will.
addicted.
See, I warned you. I warned you.
I know you did.
She predicted it. She predicted it. Well, listen, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Please look up David Essel. Please check out this book, Focus. You will not be sorry. It will change your world totally. All right, but hang with us for a minute here, David. I'm gonna end the show, and we'll see you all next week. I'm gonna have Chris Lee back on again. Speaking about past love. We'll be back with him next week for a couple hours, and thank you, and please share the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And on a note there. Thank you again for joining us for another episode in the Fox Den. We're here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and our anchor venues. We would love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, and please subscribe, share, and definitely hit the notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.